Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the live game preview to Everton's upcoming Premier League fixture against Leeds United tomorrow afternoon. Goodison Park, 3 o'clock kickoff, quite possibly our biggest game of the season. I know we said that before Tuesday's game, but that's just how this feels at the moment. We really have got 17 cup finals left, 18 cup finals, whatever it is, 17, isn't it? And that's not even including the FA Cup games, of course, which we've got Boreham Wood coming up over the next few weeks or so. We really do have 17 Premier League finals left before the end of the season. And this one, for me, tomorrow could be potentially the biggest of them all. Leeds United are a decent side, currently sitting 4 points above Everton on 23 points. They've played 22 games, won 5, drawn 8, and lost 9. Actually won the same amount of games as Everton, but obviously have significantly more points due to draws and have lost less games. And they sit 15th in the Premier League. Everton, of course, sit a place below Leeds United. You know, as I said before, this is an extremely, big game for Frank Lampard and for Everton. It's an extremely tough game as well. Leeds are the side that work tirelessly, every single time they play. I watched them a couple of days ago against Aston Villa. They were 3-1 down within the first 30 minutes, and they managed to pull that game back and take a 3-all draw, which was for them, absolutely fantastic. And as I said, I was watching it, and I would be lying if I was to say I wasn't absolutely terrified, to be honest with you, because one thing I think we can all recognise about Leeds is they might not have the best quality in the world, and they're certainly a beatable team, and they're a team that certainly can ship goals if you can create enough opportunities and you can hit them, on the break. But one thing that worries me most about Leeds is they work significantly harder than any other side I've witnessed in the Premier League over the last 12 months or so, other than the top sides, as we've mentioned a couple of times before, the sides like Manchester City and Liverpool, who have got the hardest working players in the league. I think Leeds United closely follow those sides. Marcelo Bielsa has got them, given absolutely everything every single time they go onto that pitch. And in regards to the quality of their players, they've got a lot of fast players, they've got a lot of quick moving players. And that's the type of side that Everton haven't been able to deal with, over the years. And that's the type of side that Everton haven't been able to deal with recently either. Newcastle United, who haven't been particularly great recently and have found themselves in a difficult situation themselves. We went out there on Tuesday and they worked a little bit harder than they maybe usually would. The crowd were behind them, and they completely dominated that game of football without hesitation, really. And Everton were never really in it. So this is going to be a really difficult game for Frank Lampard and Everton tomorrow. And although Frank Lampard maintains under this, this thought that this isn't as much of a must-win game. He says he wants to win the game, of course, because you want to win every game, but he doesn't believe that it's as must-win, sort of season-defining as maybe other people do. And I think that's really good management by Frank Lampard. I think what he's doing there is taking the pressure off the situation, trying to cool the situation down, trying to calm it down a little bit. He's very unlikely to come out there in a press conference and say, yeah, this is absolutely the biggest game of the season. If we lose this one tomorrow, then we're fucked, because he knows that this playing squad and these players would absolutely bottle it if they heard those words coming out of his mouth, because ultimately these players have proven time and time again that they've got very little bottle, and they've got very little ability to work under pressure. In fact, I would say they've got no ability to work under pressure. So I actually think it's really good management by Frank Lampard to come out and sort of play down the importance of this game and talk about how it's a must win and how we need to win it and we need to go and get a good result and build some confidence and stuff, but play down the fact that it's being labelled as a real must win. But as I said, I would argue with Frank in that situation. I think this is absolutely a must-win. Given the defeat on Tuesday against Newcastle and how poorly we played in that game, I would say this is as much of a must-win than any other game we'll play this season. Because, put it this way, if we don't win this game and we go out and we lose, then we're in an even more difficult situation than what we're in now. You know, I said after Tuesday's game that I wouldn't be surprised if we don't pick up another point away from home all season. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't be surprised if every single away game between now and the end of the season was a loss, because these players simply cannot play under pressure, and opposition teams and opposition managers and opposition players will understand that. There's a video going around Twitter at the moment of Watford goalkeeper Ben Foster saying that, you know, as a part of their team talk whenever they play Everton, their team talk at Watford is to get at Everton in the first 5 or 10 minutes or so, because the Evertonians typically get, you know, you sort of get on the back of the Everton players then, and then the players' heads drop and the confidence drops. So opposition teams will know that, you know, whenever they're playing Everton in their home grounds, that this Everton team are absolutely dreadful under pressure and absolutely dreadful in situations like that. And to be fair, we have been for years. It's not just this specific squad that have got that. We have been for years. As I said yesterday, forget Carlo Ancelotti's away record last season. It was a nonsense. It was an absolute anomaly. I'm not taking anything from it, because we've been shit away from home ever since I was born. Last year was a difference because there was no fans in the stadium, but last year we were shit at home as well. So this game is tomorrow is a massive telling point as to how we can perform at Goodison Park, because I think if we've got any real sort of aspiration, which we should have to stay in this division, you know, us as a fan base are going to gain any sort of confidence in terms of staying in the Premier League next season and survival. I think the home games is really where it's going to matter. You know, I think if we can go out there and get a couple of wins under our belts at Goodison Park and get us to safety, then we can readjust then in the summer, and we can look at where we need to move on from them. But the games at Goodison now, I think every single one of them is an absolute must-win, and we've got some really, really difficult games coming up over the next couple of weeks and months or so. We really, really have. But as I said, I now look at every away game and don't expect anything out of it, and that means that there's even more pressure on the home games. And I know the manager's come out today and said that it's not a must-win, or it's not as season-defining as what it may seem, even though we want to win the game. You know, he's taking the pressure off that label of a must-win. As I said, I would disagree. I think this one tomorrow is an absolute must-win. I really, really do. Not only for the points on the board, which ultimately we need. I mean, Leeds United are currently sitting 15th in the Premier League, and they're 4 points above Everton. If Everton win tomorrow, then we don't even go level on points with Leeds. So that's how, again, that's how much we need these points. But also the teams around us, Norwich picking up a point against Crystal Palace midweek. I think they're only a point behind us now. A couple of points behind us. You know, had they have won, and they were 1-0 up for an hour, had they have won, they'd have gone above us. Obviously, we saw Newcastle pick up 3 points against Everton on Tuesday. They're only a point behind us as well. If they get a decent result at the weekend, they could leapfrog us. So, you know, forget there's 17 games left. As I said yesterday, I'm not interested in how many games left, because that argument for me is invalid. Forget however many games are left. This is an absolute must-win tomorrow. Not only for points on the board and for the Premier League table, but also to give us that little bit of confidence. As I said, we said it after Brentford, and it sounds stupid because all I feel like I'm doing is repeating myself. All I feel like I'm doing is saying the same things every single time we're in this situation. Get a win, and we'll gain confidence from that, and we'll be able to move on from that. We said it before the Arsenal game. We got to win. We all sat here after the Arsenal game and said, right, time to gain some confidence, time to gain some momentum, go and pick up some good results in the Premier League. We lost the following game after. We said it after Brentford on Saturday. Time to gain some confidence, time to go and get some results on the board. We lost the following game to Newcastle. This is different because it's at Goodison Park, and I think us as Evertonians and fans can have ultimately an impact on the outcome of tomorrow's game. We need to make this the most difficult game of football Leeds United have played. This Leeds United team have ever played together. It's as simple as that. We need to make this the most difficult game of football Marcelo Bielsa has ever had to manage. And by that, what I don't mean going out and beating them 8-0 or 9-0 or 10-0 or whatever. I mean making sure that when we get to Goodison Park, you can't hear a Leeds fan. When we get to Goodison Park, they're all standing around going, Jesus Christ, these are up for it here today. You know, these are willing to battle. And as I said yesterday, forget your cringy cop-out behaviour, or, oh, we don't want to do that. That's what cop-outs do. If you've got scarves, bring them. If you've got flags, bring them. Get down and make Goodison Park absolutely fucking horrible. Absolutely horrible, because that's what these players will feed off. And I don't mean horrible in the way that Ben Foster seems to think. I mean horrible in terms of getting on the players' backs. I mean getting behind the players, getting behind the manager. You know, it was good against Brentford. It was. I thought it could have been better, but it was good. It was a good atmosphere. Probably the best of the season. We need that times 10. And if we get that times 10, I think we've got an infinite percentage higher chance of winning this game tomorrow. And you might say, don't be stupid, Cam, that's a nonsense. But and I would sit here and have the argument with anybody that would tell me that the fans' reactions don't have an impact on the performance on the field in any footballing sense. But I would sit here and have the argument that these Everton players are, as I said, infinitely more likely to win a game of football if those Evertonians behind them in the stadium, the 40,000 Evertonians, are behind them, are singing, are screaming, are shouting, are getting behind them, not getting on the back of them, getting behind them. And if these players give it 110% and show that battle and show that fight, then we will do that, and we need to do that tomorrow. We absolutely need to do that because Leeds are a decent side. They've got some decent players in there. The likes of Rafinha, who is, for me, a fantastic player. Dan James, of course, who, end product might be, somebody you could criticise, but in terms of his pace and his desire to, win the ball and win games, he's somebody that will potentially hurt Everton tomorrow. You've got the likes of Rodrigo, Jack Harrison, former Everton Academy graduate Adam Forshaw, of course, Stuart Dallas, Luke Ayling, all players that are moulded into this Marcelo Bielsa system of giving absolutely everything every single time you go onto that pitch. And Marcelo Bielsa, if he does one thing, he has that Leeds squad working hard, battling, working harder than any other team, arguably in the league. And that's what Frank Lampard will have to combat tomorrow during this game. He'll have to ensure that this Everton team can work as hard, in fact, harder than this Leeds team. And I don't even know whether that's possible, to be honest with you, because I don't know whether 90% of this squad have got it in them to work that hard. But that's what the manager's got to try and get out of this team, because Leeds are hard workers, and we know from experience that when hard working teams play against Everton, the outcome isn't very good from an Everton standpoint, because we can't deal with it, and people lose their heads drop, and players end up hiding again, as they've done time and time again. But it's down to the players now to show that they want to get out of this. They want to get out of this situation, because if you were judging by Tuesday's performance against Newcastle, I would argue that these players didn't look that arsed about getting out of a relegation battle. Newcastle players did, because they battled, they fought, they worked hard, got behind, the fans. The fans got behind the players, and they looked like they were desperate to get out of the situation that they were in. Norwich, for the last 3-4 weeks, have looked like they've been desperate to get out of the situation that they're in, as have, Watford, even though they haven't been as lucky, as have, Leeds, who, let's not forget, a couple of weeks ago were very much still in a battle. So it's time for these Everton players now to show and prove that they want to get out of this situation as well, and we will do our bit as fans. I firmly believe we'll do our bit as fans, and get behind the team. And as I said, I'm weirdly looking forward to this game tomorrow. I am weirdly looking forward to it, because I think the atmosphere will be absolutely phenomenal. Frank Lampard was asked a question actually about the atmosphere in today's pre-game press conference, and he said something along the lines of, we need to go out and do our bit now. We need to go out and be able to react to that atmosphere, and it's only a great thing that the fans are behind us, and that's exactly what we we need, and exactly what we expect. And as I said before, we know this team, we know this squad, we know these players. They can't play without us behind them. I don't give a shit if they're professional Premier League footballers on this much money or that much money. They can't play without us behind them. It's simple. And that might say a lot about them as players. That might say a lot about them as professionals. But whatever it says, it's the truth. Those players cannot play without us as Evertonians behind them, and supporting them, and supporting the manager, and getting behind them with chants, and getting behind them with with songs and stuff like that. And if a referee makes a bad decision, getting on the referee's back and cheering every slide and challenge and all of that sort of stuff. Everton are at our best when the atmosphere at Goodison is great. I can't remember, and this is, I put this question out to everybody really, other than last season, the first couple of weeks of last season under Carlo Ancelotti, when Evertonians have been at Goodison, when was the last time we played really, really well and won a game comfortably where the atmosphere was flat? We're not Manchester City, we're not Chelsea. We can't all turn up and go, we're not really asked about getting up and doing the singing and doing the chatting today, and the players just go, don't worry about that, because we'll sort it out. We're professionals, we're dead good footballers. We'll just beat this team that are in front of us that is significantly worse than us. We'll just do that because that's what we're here to do. If you don't fancy singing or shouting, that's fine. We'll just do our job. Everton don't do that. We only really put in top performances when the atmosphere is great. And some people would say, well, obviously can, because when the performance is good, the atmosphere is going to improve. But what I'm saying is, it's always initiated by the fans. It's always initiated by the fans getting up for it, and the players all of a sudden get up for it. And that's what every home game has got to be like at Goodison Park between now and the end of the season. Anybody that goes the game or is going the game, over the course of the next few weeks, every single time we leave that ground, we need to leave it with no voice. We need to leave it knowing that we've done our bit. And if those players can't get up and give it 100% and battle and fight and give absolutely everything when 37,000 Evertonians are doing so, then they don't deserve to be at Everton Football Club, and I'd bounce into Finch Farm and rip the contracts up the very next day. But I'm that confident that the majority of this squad wouldn't dare put in a shithouse hiding performance if everybody at Goodison was up for the game and was behind them. Away from home, they've only got a select number of fans who are there, and you can block that sound out, and they'll happily hide, and they'll happily, forget about the game and try and just get through it without having to do much. At Goodison, that is impossible. And as I said, this is our club now. We get relegated, players will leave. Players like Michael Keane, Mason Holgate, they'll get Premier League moves and they'll go and earn money elsewhere, and they won't give a shit about Everton. Managers will leave, directors will leave, board members will leave. We are the one constant. We are the one part of this football club that will be here forever and ever and ever. So if you don't particularly like the playing squad, if you're not particularly happy with the manager, which I don't think many people are unhappy, if you're not particularly happy with the board, forget all of that for those 90 minutes tomorrow, and remember that this is our football club, and we have to get behind our football club. And ultimately, the people that can make the difference are those people on the pitch. Whether we like them or not, they're the representatives. They're the people that will make the difference between us going down and us staying up. If we get relegated, it's because of those players on the pitch and the manager in the dugout. So if we do our bit, we can sit back and go, we've done our bit. And it's proven before that ultimately this team perform much better when we're behind them, and when we're battling them. Lenny says, far too good to go down, very noisy, loud fans, see you at home, no need to worry at all, too much quality, too much class, you'll stay up, no problems. I disagree, mate. I disagree, and I understand what you're trying to say, and I appreciate it, but I disagree. I don't think we are too good to go down whatsoever. In fact, I think we are the worst team in the Premier League at the moment, without a shadow of a doubt, and I think we have been for some weeks and some months. I really, really do, and nobody can convince me otherwise. Somebody can tell me a team that is worse than Everton at the moment. People would say Watford. Well, at least Watford players give absolutely everything every time they go on the pitch, and they've lost games marginally, and they've actually drawn more games recently than what Everton have. So Everton are much worse than Watford are at the moment. So I disagree with the too good to go down. But as I said, if we're going to stay up, and if we've, for me, the key games are the games at Goodison Park, and it starts tomorrow. It started last week against Brentford, and if we can put in any sort of way near the performance that we did against Brentford, then I think we should be okay tomorrow. But don't get me wrong, Leeds for me are a better side than Brentford. They're not better in regards to quality, but they're certainly a much more harder working team than Brentford. And one thing I noticed from Brentford last week is they didn't work particularly hard. They didn't have a lot of quality, but they didn't work particularly hard. Leeds won't do that tomorrow. Leeds will work particularly hard. Leeds will battle. Leeds will fight. Leeds will put us on our toes. Leeds will be out of the straight at us within the opening couple of seconds of the game, and we've got to be able to control that. We've got to be able to go with that, and these players have got to understand that they get paid a shitload of money to play football. 5-yard passes aren't that hard. They do them every day in training. These people train multiple hours every single day. Start putting into practice what you're training. Because we did against Brentford. We were playing the lovely 1-2 passes. We were very rarely losing the ball. It was good play. So how come against Newcastle did we look like you'd just picked up 11 blokes from the pub and said, come and have a kickabout? How come that's the case? We need a serious performance tomorrow. And a part of me is looking forward to it. Because of the atmosphere and because it's such a big game, and these are the type of games that you look forward to in football. I think not from an excited point of view. I'm massively anxious and stressed about the game, but I think the atmosphere at Goodison will be up there tomorrow, and I think that that could drag us through in itself. But this is for me an absolute massive game. It's a must win. I know Frank Lampard has stated it's not a must win. I know Frank Lampard is very much going with the idea of we've got loads of games left, but as I've said multiple times over the last couple of days, if you've been watching, I'm not really asked about that argument if we've got this amount of games left, we've got that amount of games left, because ultimately it's irrelevant. It's absolutely irrelevant, because if we don't start winning, if we don't start picking up points, and if we don't start performing, we could have 320 games left. If we're going to lose every one of them, then it doesn't matter, does it? So, massive game tomorrow, and a must win for many different reasons. And also, if we do win, it's important that we build on that then, and we don't shit ourselves, the following week and go and lose again, lose all of that momentum as we did on Tuesday. It's important that we build on a win, if we do win, of course, and we we use that confidence on momentum to move forward. But the hardest part is getting those 3 points, and it will be difficult tomorrow. I do believe that Leeds are without Calvin Phillips and Patrick Bamford. I think I read the story today as to say that they were both out with injury, so that is a positive from an Everton standpoint, of course. Two of Leeds' key players there, especially Calvin Phillips. Patrick Bamford is a really good striker, and actually in the reverse fixture at Ellen Road earlier on in the season, I was there, and I watched closely Patrick Bamford's sort of duel with Yerry Mina, and he, although I think Yerry Mina probably won on that day, it certainly was difficult. It certainly was difficult for him. So it's good news that Patrick Bamford's out. Not that Leeds haven't got anybody else in there to fill in for him. They've got a vast sort of range of good forward players that can certainly step in there and do a job. But Bamford is certainly one that I would have been a little bit wary of tomorrow. So if he is out, that's obviously a positive for Everton. And Calvin Phillips was the man of the match in that game in earlier on in the season. He completely and utterly just controlled the game. The midfield for me is going to be key tomorrow. I don't think Frank Lampard can afford to go with the two in midfield, because I think Alan and Andre Gomez would be absolutely embarrassed tomorrow if they're there on their own. There's just simply not enough pace and not enough energy in there. So I think a 3 in midfield is absolutely the way to go for the manager tomorrow. And having a player like Calvin Phillips out injured, and not having to deal with his quality, not having to deal with his ability in the middle of the park is certainly a positive for Everton. And again, as I said, it's not defining for the game, because Leeds have got other players that can fill in there and do a job. But Calvin Phillips is particularly a very, very, very good player, very, very, very good midfielder. We've seen it in the summer for England, of course, in the Euros, and for him to be out injured is not a positive, because we don't want to see players out injured, but it's a positive in regards to Everton for tomorrow's game, isn't it? Because he certainly is one of Leeds' key players. If not, some Leeds fans would probably argue that he's their most key player. So again, as I said, a little bit of sort of bonus sort of plus injury news in regards to Leeds United. Everton injury wise, Frank Lampard has had his pre-game press conference earlier today. We found out that Yerry Mina is set to be out for between 8 to 10 weeks with an injury to his quad. Frank Lampard said it became quite apparent very much or almost as soon as Yerry Mina went down and began to explain his injury, that this was something that was going to keep him out for some time, and then following tests the day after confirmed that it would be between 8 and 10 weeks, which pretty much means we won't see Yerry Mina again, between now and the end of the season. I mean, if you look at our upcoming fixtures between now and the end of the season, we're currently on the 11th of February, so taking 8 weeks is 2 months. That would be the 11th of April. That would take us just before the game against Crystal Palace, the 16th. Let's say he's out for the maximum 10. He may be back for the 23rd against Liverpool, and he may get the final 5 games of the season. But that's not taken into account the fact that he'll have been out for 2 months. He won't be match fit. He won't be ready, and you won't want to rush him straight in, especially having had an injury that's going to keep him out for a while. So we mightn't see Yerry Mina until the final 2 or 3 games of the season, and by that point, the race to stay in the Premier League may well be over, and that's devastating for me. Absolutely devastating for a number of reasons. Not only because Yerry Mina is, such an important player to this Everton side. Listen, there's a separate conversation to be had on a separate video on a separate day about Yerry Mina and his future, because I think a serious decision needs to be made now by somebody at the football club. We're simply paying Yerry Mina too much money to be, you know, in for 2 weeks and out for 10 weeks. It's not good enough. His injury record this season has been atrocious, and we're coming up to the point where we need to make a decision about his future. He's 26 years old, so he's still at a decent age, and it's a shame because he is our best centre-half by quite a long stretch, isn't he? Let's be honest, he's our best centre-half, and he's one of the very, very few leaders in the team. And Frank Lampard, funnily enough, actually mentioned that today. Actually mentioned the fact that Yerry Mina is a leader, and he was looking forward to working with him. But this worries me. This worries me a lot, especially with the news last Saturday that Ben Godfrey was out and set to be out for a potential of a month, maybe a month and a half, something like that. Let's not forget, by the way, Yerry Mina only returned to action against Brentford last week. He was on the bench against Brentford because he was only just returning back from injury. He plays, 70 minutes of that game against Brentford, scores, gets an assist, and then he plays 20 minutes of the game against Newcastle and he's out injured. So he's played 90 minutes for what will effectively be probably about 3 months of injury, which just isn't sustainable and isn't, unfortunately, reliable enough to build a team around. But forgetting his future, forgetting his contractual situation and all that for the moment, we have now lost our best centre-half by some stretch and our only real leader in the side and our only leader in that back line for potentially the remainder of the season. Certainly to a point where I think when Yerry Mina returns, we will know what our fate is, i.e. we will either be down and out or we will be safe. And we may be in and around the sort of still trying to get out of that situation, but it might be too late by the time Yerry Mina comes back. And I'm not going to lie, and I'll be completely honest with every single person watching, and there is 131 people watching, by the way, and if you are enjoying this, please hit that like button. It literally takes a second, and it means a massive, massive amount to me. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. I will be completely honest with everybody watching here, to think that we've now got Yerry Mina out for, let's say, 10 weeks. We've now got Ben Godfrey out for, let's say, 6 weeks. With Vitaly Mykolenko is also out for tomorrow's game. Frank Lampard did confirm that he is out for tomorrow's game, but the hope is that he'll be fit for next week. In regards to Yerry Mina, in regards to Demarai Gray, again, he said he won't be available for tomorrow's game, but there's a hope that he will be back for the game next week. And Dominic Calvert-Lewin is in the squad and fit to start. Whether or not he will, Frank Lampard has said that is a decision that they will have to make. Fabian Delph is still injured. Does anyone really give a shit? And Abdoulaye Doucouré is still out as of a timescale as to when he will return. I can only assume it's still 2 or 3 weeks, even though it was 2 or 3 weeks about 4 weeks ago. But as I said before, I'm going to be completely honest with you. A defence of Mason Holgate, Michael Keane, Seamus Coleman, John Joe Kenny, and Jared Brandtwaite for the next, let's say, month or two at the very least, is absolutely fucking terrifying. And I apologise for me language, but I'm going to emphasise this. It is absolutely fucking terrifying. It simply is. And I know Nathan Patterson's in there as well, which is one benefit. Whether or not he will get any sort of game time tomorrow is a completely different question. Again, Frank Lampard was asked about him today, and he effectively said he's working hard. He just needs to keep working hard and developing, and he'll get his chance. And I think he said something along the lines of, it's unfortunate that we've got Seamus Coleman who's doing so well in his position, which, again, I think is a little bit of, I'll give Seamus a bit of credit, despite the fact he's been absolutely shite, because let's be honest, he's been absolutely shite and he shouldn't be anywhere near this Everton team. But yeah, as I said, that back line, especially the centre-backs of Michael Keane, Jared Brandtwaite and Mason Holgate for at least the next month and a half is fucking terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. I know some people have mentioned Gbamin in there. Let's be honest, Gbamin ain't going to play. He ain't going to play centre-half. Again, Lampard's only just coming in. He will probably have looked at Jean-Philippe Gbamin in a midfield area, and there's obviously a reason to why Jean-Philippe Gbamin hasn't featured over the last couple of games or so, or didn't feature much under Rafael Benitez. There's obviously reasons there. He's either not good enough, he's not committed enough, I don't know what it is. But he's obviously he's obviously he's not capable of playing in there for whatever reason. In the midfield, that is, which is his primary position, so he ain't going to play at centre-back. So, to think that our only 3 fit centre-backs are Keane, Branthwaite and Holgate is terrifying for the situation that we're in. It really, really is terrifying. And our injury luck and our injury record over the last 12 months or so, specifically this season, has been terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. And if I'm being perfectly honest with you, I think it goes beyond bad luck. I think it goes beyond being able to sit here and say, oh, we're so unlucky, aren't we? Look at how unlucky we are with all of the injuries. I think, interestingly enough, Frank Lampard was asked the question about the medical staff today, and he said they've been very good and they've been very sort of hands-on since he come into the football club, because he was asked if he was going to bring his own medical staff in. I think there's a deeper issue with the medical team, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, because there's just no way this can be bad luck. There's no way pretty much every single one of our key players, main players, big players, whatever you want to call them, can pick up such significant injuries. They're never out for a week or 2 weeks or a couple of days. It's always 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 1 month. Dominic Calvert-Lewin hasn't featured all season, effectively. He played in the first 3 games, and then we effectively haven't seen him until now. He's played the odd game, but in a consistent basis, we still haven't seen Dominic Calvert-Lewin after playing the first 3 games of the season. He got injured in September. Damari Gray now out for however long. Might only be a week or so, but he's had injury before. Richarlison's had an injury before. Abdoulaye Doucouré has been out. Alan has been out. We've now got Yerry Mina out, and he's been out for effectively the whole season. Ben Godfrey out as well. And let's not forget, last season, there was no Premier League team who had more injuries than Everton in regards to first-team players. I think we were the only Premier League team to have every single first-team player out injured at some point during the season. And, the media will tell you Liverpool were dead hard done by, but fuck Liverpool and their injuries. We had it worse. Simple as that. So, again, it's worrying. It's worrying because of the situation that we're in. It's worrying because we're in a relegation battle without our best midfielder and our most important midfielder, our best centre-back and our most important centre-back, and probably at the moment our best, sort of attacking player. That's the spine of a team. The absolute spine of a team gone whilst we're in a relegation battle. Again, it's just... You can't write it, can you? You simply can't write it. Anyway, we are going to get into our predicted starting 11 in just a moment, but let's get into the live comments before we do that. Loads of live comments. As I said, if you are enjoying the stream, please hit that like button. 165 people watching, only 37 likes. If you could get the likes up, that would be amazing. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. That only takes a second. But yeah, the injuries are extremely worrying, considering the situation that we're in. Greeting, fellow Blues, says Semi. What's happening, my mate? Evelyn says Wormy is right. Hello, Cam, says Semi. What's happening? Deli Song is boss, says John. It certainly is. Not the best start to a presser by Frank there. All but said we were going to get smashed by Leeds. He was very cautious with what he had to say, I felt. I don't think it was as simple as him saying we're going to get smashed by Leeds, but I think he was very, very cautious and complimentary about the style of which Leeds play. However, we need to be able to combat that. We can't lose tomorrow. We can't lose. People will say, oh, it's not a must win, but how many times are we going to have these games where people go, oh, it's not even that big of a deal? Are we watching the same thing? Tomorrow is a must win. It's a final. End of story. It's a final. If I leave that ground and we haven't won, or certainly if we've lost, I'm fucking devastated. Because we can't keep losing games of football. If I leave that ground and we've won, the relief that I will feel will be as if, well, I don't know what it's like to see Everton win a trophy, but I can only imagine it's somewhat similar to what I will feel tomorrow if we win that game of football. That's how important this game of football is to Everton in our season. Even in Wormy, Craig says, alright Cam, what's happening? Jason says, hi Cam, hi everybody, what's happening? If we can't get Goodison bouncing for the rest of the season, we're in shit massively, says Reese. I agree. Hello, Jason, says Semi. Peter says, Yerry out for 10 weeks at least, just Mina out for ages again, says Stephen. Thomas says, we've got the Beek, Donny van de Beek. I just don't think you understand. He came from Amsterdam, he's better than Zidane. We've got Donny van de Beek. It's a decent tune, but it was a tune sang by all the London clubs, and it just... Anything that the London clubs sing, I'm not a massive fan of. On the plus side, might be forced to play 3 centre-backs now. He was covered in his arse. Without Gray, forced not to play 3 centre-backs, sorry. Without Gray, we'd be 19th, says EFC Andy. There you go, that's how important he's been this season. And now he's out for what might only be a week or so. But how many times have we said this is a must-win game and we've lost every time? Exactly. But it is a must-win game. It doesn't change the fact that this is a must-win game. With Mina out there's no defence, says Ryan. I out, we have 3 in midfield, says Stephen. Reece says 3 in midfield in the same way against Brentford. I think we'll beat them. Pretty obvious we need 3 in the midfield, says Semi. So a lot of people going with the 3 in the midfield. Carl says, Frank's playing it smart, can't think about it. We all know how mentally fragile this group is. If he builds them up too much, they'll wilt. Smart move is to treat it like any other game. Yeah, I agree. Actually, and again, I've got no issue with Frank Lampard coming out and saying that it's not as important as maybe as what it's being out, because I don't expect him to come out and say this is an absolutely vital game of football. I don't expect him to come out and say this is the biggest game of the season, because these players will shit themselves. We've seen it before, we'll see it again. These players will absolutely shit themselves under that situation. And yeah, I understand why he said it, and I appreciate and I'm quite thankful that he come out and downplayed the importance of this game. But that doesn't mean that this game isn't a must win for me, because it absolutely is a must win. Let's get into my predicted starting 11 then ahead of this one. As I said, vitally important game, and ultimately, whoever plays tomorrow, have we got a medical staff, says Nicholas. We've got some medical staff. I don't know whether it's just different people that turn up at Finch Farm every day and go, I'll do a bit today, and the club go, yeah, go ahead, you come in and do a bit then. I actually think it's the under-23s medical staff. But whoever they are, they need improving, because the injuries just are ridiculous. Anyway, let's get in to our predicted starting 11, and yeah, see what everybody has to say about it. Yes, can I see you with Ped on Toffee TV? Says unknown. You will at some point in the near future. Anyway, in goal, Jordan Pickford. Don't think he did particularly poorly against Newcastle. Obviously, Jordan Pickford has a lively, let's say, relationship with Newcastle. Love-hate, shall we say. And therefore, the Newcastle fans were constantly on his back from start to finish. And I thought for the majority of the game, he dealt with it relatively well. Could he have maybe done more for the free kick? Maybe he could have stepped to his side a little bit and sort of covered that area. But again, by that point, it was game over, wasn't it? It was another example of Everton going 2-1 down with half an hour to go, and you're just knowing that we're never getting back into that game. So yeah, I don't really put particularly much blame on Jordan Pickford, and let's be honest, he's going to start, isn't he? Because he's our number 1 goalkeeper. And even if you were to say he was at blame for the 3rd goal last week, that's literally one mistake in about the last however many months. So I think he can get away with it. Back 4 them. This is scary. Even to just see what I've written down is terrifying me, if I'm being honest with you. And I am going for a back 4 purely because I don't think there's the options to go for a back 5. Listen, put it this way. Some people would say, well, he's going to go with a back 5 because the more defenders you've got, the more chance you've got of not conceding. But the way I look at it is a back 5 is very much tailored to wide fullbacks. Fullbacks that are going to get forward and good attacking fullbacks. We've got no left back because Vitaly Mikalenko was out injured or with COVID or whatever he is. He's out. And we've got no right back because Nathan Patterson is unlikely to play and Seamus Coleman is being shite. So playing 5 at the back not only is for me a bad decision because of the fact that I don't think these 3 can play together, but also you're not getting that benefit of attacking fullbacks. So people will go, it's a 3 at the back. It's not a 3 at the back because Seamus Coleman ain't doing anything going forward, and neither is whoever plays left back. So it ain't a 3 at the back, it's a 5 at the back, and that for me would be the wrong decision. So I'm going with a 4 at the back. Left back, I'm going with John Joe Kenny. Listen, we haven't got many options, have we? I don't think Andros Townsend done particularly well the other day, if I'm being honest with you. In fact, I think he was shite. Yes, he's I think the only left-footed player in the team, which made sense as to why he played left back, but that doesn't mean that he automatically had a good performance. He wasn't very good. Now, John Joe Kenny, I think, is an interesting one because he actually come on left back for Vitaly Mykolenko in the game against Brentford last week, and he actually done okay. I actually thought he done well, if I'm being honest with you. You know, he didn't have an awful lot to do, and as I said, Brentford weren't particularly good. They again didn't work particularly hard and struggled to get any real foot on the ball, especially after we went 3-1 up. But for the time that he was on the pitch, John Joe Kenny, and what he had to do, he actually done well. There was a couple of moments where the ball was, lifted up in the air, and he had to deal with it, and he had to head it down to Jordan Pickford, or he had to take it down and use his body well. And I actually think that he done it relatively okay. Now, is he a left back? No. Is he the perfect option at left back? No. And is he susceptible to making a ridiculous mistake that will result in Everton conceding a goal? Yes, of course he is, because we already know and have established that John Joe Kenny isn't good enough, or probably isn't good enough to play for Everton, and we shouldn't be in this situation. However, we've got no left back. Andros Townsend was abysmal midweek, absolutely abysmal. And Nathan Patterson, I'd rather see at right back, which would mean Seamus Coleman would go at left back, which I think would be worse than John Joe Kenny. Other than that, unless you're going to take a midfielder with not a lot of pace, or a forward player who wouldn't fit and put them left back, I don't see what the other option is, really. And as I said, albeit it was only in a brief spell, and it was against the team that had pretty much given up, I actually think John Joe done okay against Brentford, and I think he's the better option. Is he the perfect option? No. Is it ideal? No. But I think it's the better option out of everybody we've got available. So I'm going with John Joe Kenny left back. Centre of the defence, I'm going with Michael Keane and Mason Holgate. I know there's a massive shout for Jarrad Branthwaite to start, and I know a lot of Evertonians would like Jarrad Branthwaite to start, but I'm going with the prediction that I think Frank Lampard will go with, and I think we're much more likely to see the partnership of Michael Keane and Mason Holgate than Jarrad Branthwaite in there. Now, that is absolutely terrifying, because Michael Keane and Mason Holgate, there's about as much leadership in this bottle of water that I've been drinking for the last 40 minutes than there is in a defensive partnership of Jarrad Branthwaite, of Mason Holgate and Michael Keane. It is fucking terrifying. Let's be perfectly honest with ourselves. It is fucking terrifying that could be our centre-back partnership. But hopefully, if we get behind the team, if we get behind the players, if we get behind the manager, they'll be able to put in a decent performance. I actually think the pair of them were relatively okay against Brentford. They weren't amazing. It was nothing to scream and shout about, but I actually think they've done well. And I know a lot of people will want Jarrad Branthwaite in there, but the reality of Jarrad Branthwaite starting over either of these two tomorrow, I think, is slim. So I've gone with Holgate and Keane. And then right back, I've gone with Coleman again. I think I personally would have Nathan Patterson in there. I'd have Nathan Patterson over Seamus Coleman in there all day. He needs to start at some point. He needs to break into this team at some point. He needs to get Premier League experience at some point. And Seamus Coleman has been woeful recently. It's as simple as that. He's been absolutely appalling. However, again, similar situation to the centre-back situation. How realistic is it to expect Nathan Patterson to make his debut tomorrow, especially when Seamus Coleman's fit? I think unrealistic. So I think it'll be Seamus, and we need a big performance by Seamus tomorrow. We need them to not hide. Don't want to hear none of this going up to fans after the game and saying we're dead sorry, we need to be better. Stop doing all of that shit and just come out and give absolutely everything. Give it 110%. Yeah, there you go. Into the midfield then, I'm going with Alan, Andre Gomez and Donny van der Beek. I know there's a big shout for Dele Alli to start. Frank Lampard actually made an interesting comment in his press conference today about Dele Alli. He said he basically said he was sort of had his hands tied in regards to the substitutions he had to make because of the injuries that were forced upon him. I still stick with the fact that the Alli substitution on Tuesday was wrong. But he said that ideally he wouldn't have had to have given Dele Alli as much time as he did, which was interesting because that made me think, is he not fit enough? Is he not is he not match fit? Is he not sharp enough? Why is the manager coming out and saying ideally I wouldn't have had to have given as much game time as he did? That for me shows that there's clearly a lack of sharpness there, or there's clearly a lack of match fitness from Dele Alli's point of view. And that would make sense. That would absolutely make sense. Because he wasn't particularly good. We seen bursts. We seen a couple of moments where he looked okay. But let's be honest, for the majority of the time he was on the pitch, he didn't really do much. And that's not me saying he's shite. That's not me saying he's not very good. That's me saying that ultimately he wasn't particularly great. So I am going with Donny van de Beek in there. I think we need a free in midfield. And let's be honest, Alan and Andre Gomez are set because we've got nobody else to play there. You could say, well, what about Ali and Van der Beek? Maybe, but I think the defensive cover in that midfield would be terrifying. And especially against the Leeds side that come out of teams, they put pressure on, they're quick, they battle, they work hard. I just think that I just think that we need a little bit more defensive cover in there, and I think Alan, again, neither of them were particularly great. Andre Gomez was back to his usual self against Newcastle, and in an ideal world, he wouldn't be starting games for Everton, but we don't live in an ideal world, and we've got nobody else. Unknown says, don't play Gomez now. So who else would we play in this situation? Because it's either Gomez or Dele Alli, and I'm looking at it and thinking, where's your defensive cover if you've got Ali, Van der Beek and Alan in the same team? Gbamin ain't playing, let's be honest. Gbamin ain't playing. If he does play, then fair enough, but he ain't playing. But, you know, Alan and Donny and Ali Akam maybe says, where me? Yeah, maybe. If you're going with a 4-2-1-3 or 4-2-3-1, whatever you want to call it, maybe. But, again, I think predicted-wise, I think it will be Alan, Gomez and Van der Beek. And it'll be interesting to see Van der Beek. Kate Melski says Gbamin. Maybe Gbamin will get his chance, but again, he's obviously not doing something right, is he? Because he hasn't even been given chances off the bench recently, so he's obviously not very good or not doing something right in training. And he's been fit now for a while, so the fitness thing isn't even an argument because he's been fit for a while now. Onyanko says K, maybe. I'd like to see him in there, but who knows? And then forward line, so midfield, I'm going for Alan, Gomez and Van der Beek, although two of those three players I wouldn't have starting this game, but we've not got many options. In fact, we've got no options. And then forward line, I'm going for Anthony Gordon on the right or left, whichever one. Richarlison on the other wing and Dominic Calvert-Lewin up front. There is options there. You could go with Dele Alli, you could go with Anwar El Ghazi, you could go with Alex Iwobi, dare I say. But I think if you've got Dele Alli to potentially come off the bench in the second half and, you know, have that impact from the bench, I think that would be more beneficial. I think Anthony Gordon absolutely deserves to start. I don't think there'd be many people that would sit here and disagree with that. Richarlison will start, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin I think returns to the starting 11 up front. Obviously Damari Gray is out injured, and Josh Townsend hasn't particularly impressed recently, so that would be the front three that I go with. So there you go, that is my predicted starting 11. Let us know your thoughts on it in the comment section down below. Do you agree? If you do, nice one. Do you disagree? If you do, let me know. I'm really interested to hear what you all have to say. Yeah, you know, let's get back into the live comments before we get into it. Unknown says number 10 means Cam. Bro, you're contradicting yourself. I know it means Cam. I'm not contradicting myself. I'm saying if you want to play a Cam, then yeah, okay, maybe Dele Alli would be in there. But is there enough energy in a midfield of Donny van der Beek? Oh, if we play with a number 10 or a Cam, is that not just playing with two in midfield? Because Dele Alli, if he plays as a Cam, ain't going to come back and do any defensive work. So is that not just the same as playing with a 5 at the back and 2 in midfield? We've all sat here and said, can't play 2 in midfield, you get overrun far too easily. But surely if you're playing with a number 10 and a Cam who is going to be focusing on doing the work or forward, you're still playing with a 2 in midfield. So is that not still the same issue? I was talking to a commentator, says unknown. Oh, sorry, mate, sorry. Raymond says, no one in the squad is better than anyone. Refuse to believe Gbamin can't be just as shit as Gomez. I actually agree, mate, but judging by the fact that he's been fit for a while now and hasn't been involved, would maybe tell you different. But who knows? Lampard's only been here a week, so we might start tomorrow and we might see a different side to Gbamin, which hopefully we will, because ultimately for his future, he needs to start getting his head down and putting in performances. Even in mate, hope you're well, says Statman Slubs. Is right, mate, hope you're doing well. Ryan says El Ghazi, Ali, DCL, Richarlison, very good forwards. It's just the rest of the team below par. Yeah. I personally think Richarlison up front and El Ghazi on left wing. Interesting, maybe. Again, that's another option. I wouldn't be particularly frustrated to see that option. I just think we'll see Dom up front. Never mention Iwobi against Steven. According to Lampard in his presser, Coleman has been great all season. I know, but he's not going to come out and say he's fucking shite, that Coleman. We need to get rid of him, is he? He's not going to do that. Alan says Ryan. Okay, play Branthwaite, says Paul. Gomez was bad last game. I agree. John says Lampard just wants Dele Alli to adapt to his new team and tactics. It takes players a while to adapt to a new club. Can't play Dele in midfield. He's a number 10, says Stuart. Yeah, that's it, says Unknown. The fans need to let Lampard know they want to see Patterson come on at some time tomorrow, please. Well, he will come on if he needs to come on, won't he? If we're searching for a goal, he's not going to put a right back on. He'll put forwards on because that would make sense. El Ghazi will play at some point, just don't know if it'll be Saturday, says Kevin. Whamey says no because midfielders are far better on the ball and centre-backs and play 10 yards higher up the pitch. I don't know what you're referring to there in regards to that, Remy. Leeds 2-1, says Rennie. Hopefully not. Cam, what do you reckon about the 6 wins? We've got Leeds, Leicester, Brentford, Watford, Burnley, Newcastle. At this point, I don't think we'll win any of them. That could change tomorrow. I could be sitting here tomorrow going, we'll win them all. Because that's football for you. But at this point, they're all extremely difficult. Everton 2-0, says Paul. Those are in the bag. Ryan, Harold says, Ryan, I think those sleeping pills. So mad. Anyway, look, we are going to finish it off there then. There's no need for me to talk any more about the importance of this game. It is an absolutely massive game of football, one that Everton have simply got to go out and win. It's also a big game for us to turn up as fans, get behind the players, get behind the manager, and make Goodison Park absolutely horrible for Leeds, and that's exactly what we've got to do. It'd be difficult. Leeds are a decent side, they work hard, they play decent football, but it's all about the toffees tomorrow, and this game is massively, massively important. Anyway, we are going to finish it there. Then if you have enjoyed this one, please do hit that like button. It means a massive, massive amount to me. Once again, big thanks to everybody for watching in the live comments. Really, really do appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. We will be back tomorrow live with the instant match reaction and the play ratings directly after the game, so don't forget to join us for those. And then, of course, we'll have the game review out on Monday as well. If you are watching as a YouTube video, leave your thoughts down below and we'll get involved with as many of them as we possibly can. And once again, sorry I couldn't get involved with all of the live comments. I do apologise, but there's been absolutely loads today, so thank you all so much. Kay says, cheers, good podcast, cheers mate, really appreciate it. Remy says, okay, if you play 3 centre-backs, then your centre-backs passing to centre-backs from the 18-yard lad, they're going sideways. I'm dead confused there, Wormy, I'm dead confused. Cheers, TheMightyBlues says, Mozza is right. Massive thank you everyone, really do appreciate it. If you have enjoyed this one, please hit that thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new as well. We will be back with the instant match reaction and the play ratings tomorrow, so join us for them. And yeah, big game, and let's hope Everton can go out and finally get a Premier League win, finally, because that's what we need, isn't it? It's a must win. Don't care what anyone says, it's a must win. Kevin says cheers, Cam, cheers. Emmy says thanks, Cam, take care everyone, come on you Blues. Thank you very much, big thanks for watching. Let's just hope for the best day. Up the toffees, come on you Blues, come on. Nice one for watching, see you after.